Hello everyone. Before we begin tonight, let the world outside fade away. It is time to let go of the noise, the demands, and the relentless pace of the day. Adjust your pillows until they support you perfectly. Pull the blanket up, creating a warm, protective shell around you. Let your shoulders drop. Unclench your jaw. Take a deep breath in, filling your lungs with cool, calming air. And let it out slowly, pushing away the tension. Again, in and out. Tonight, we are traveling to a different reality. We are leaving the familiar stars of Universe 7, the home of Goku and Vegeta, and crossing the vast, silent void between dimensions. We are drifting to Universe 11. This is the story of Jiren. It is a story often misunderstood. To many, Jiren is a wall, a monolith of silence and aggression, a being of absolute strength who sought to crush all opposition. But a wall is built for a reason. A wall is built to keep things out or to keep something fragile safe inside. Tonight, we look behind the wall. We look at the boy before he became the legend. We look at the silence before it became a weapon. So, close your eyes. Imagine a sky that is not blue, but a deep, twilight purple. Imagine a landscape of vast arid canyons and towering mesas of red rock. We begin in the past. Long before the Tournament of Power, long before the Pride Troopers. We begin with a child, a small hut, and a fire burning quietly in the hearth. The planet is Othgal. It is a harsh world, a place of extremes. The suns burn hot during the day, baking the clay earth until it cracks. The nights are freezing, the wind howling through the ravines like a morning song. But life found a way here. In a small valley, sheltered by high cliffs, there was a village. It was not a city of technology and steel. It was a simple place. Houses made of stone and packed earth, rounded to deflect the wind. Gardens where hardy crops were coaxed from the dry soil. It was a quiet life, a life of labor and family. Jiren was small then. He did not have the massive, muscular frame that would one day intimidate gods. He was slight. His eyes, those large, distinctive black eyes, were wide with curiosity and innocence. He was a child who loved the world. He loved the way the sand felt between his toes when he ran. He loved the sound of the wind chimes his mother hung by the door, made of hollow bones and polished stones. He loved the smell of the evening meal cooking over the fire. Spiced roots and roasted meat. He had parents, a mother and a father. They are lost to history now, their names forgotten by the universe, but to Jiren they were everything. His father was a strong man, a man who worked the stone, his hands rough and calloused. He taught Jiren how to lift, how to carry, how to endure the heat of the day. Strength is a tool, his father would say, wiping sweat from his brow. It builds the house. It carries the water. It protects the family. His mother was gentle. She taught him the names of the stars. She taught him to listen to the silence. Peace is not empty, she would whisper to him as he drifted to sleep. Peace is full. It is the space where we grow. Jiren believed them. He believed that the world was good. He believed that if you worked hard, if you loved your family, and if you were strong enough to carry the water, you would be safe. He was happy. Imagine that happiness. It was a warm, golden light in his chest. It was the security of knowing his place in the universe. He would run through the village with the other children, their laughter echoing off the canyon walls. They played games of tag, of hide and seek in the shadows of the great rocks. Jiren was fast. He was naturally gifted. Even then, there was a focus in him, an intensity that set him apart. When he ran with his whole heart. When he hid, he was as still as a stone. But childhood on Othgal was fragile. One evening, the wind changed. It was not the usual cooling breeze that signaled the end of the day. It was a cold wind, a wind that smelled of ozone and ash. The birds stopped singing. The insects in the grass fell silent. Jiren was playing near the edge of the village. He stopped. He felt a shiver run down his spine, a primal warning that he didn't understand. He looked toward the entrance of the valley. A figure stood there. We do not know the name of the villain. In Jiren's memory, he is simply the evil doer, a shadow given form, a being who did not come for resources, or for land, or for conquest. He came because he could. He came to destroy. The villain moved with a terrifying silence. There was no grand speech, no declaration of war, just the sudden, violent eruption of energy. The attack was swift. Jiren saw the first house explode. He saw the stone walls shatter, turning into shrapnel. He saw the fire. He ran. He ran toward his home. He ran toward his parents. "Mother! Father!" he screamed, his small voice lost in the roar of the destruction. He reached his house. The door was broken. The wind chimes were lying in the dust, crushed. He found them inside. We will not dwell on the violence. It is enough to know that they stood between the villain and their son. They used their strength, the strength that built houses and carried water, to try and stop a monster. It wasn't enough. Strength, Jiren learned in that terrifying moment, was relative. His father's strength was nothing against his power. His mother's gentleness was no shield against his cruelty. They fell. Jiren stood in the ruins of his life. He was paralyzed. He looked at the villain who towered over him, a silhouette against the burning village. The villain looked down at the boy. He didn't attack. He didn't speak. He simply turned and walked away, leaving the child alive in the ashes. Why? Perhaps it was cruelty. Perhaps it was indifference. Perhaps he wanted the boy to suffer the survivor's guilt. The villain vanished into the night, leaving behind a silence that was heavier than the noise. Jiren was alone. The word echoed in his mind. Alone. The village was gone. The laughter was gone. The warmth was gone. There was only the cold night wind of Othgal blowing through the skeleton of his home. Jiren sat in the dust. He didn't cry. He couldn't. The shock was too deep. It had frozen his heart. He simply stared at the spot where his parents had fallen, trying to understand the equation of what had just happened. They were good, they were strong, and they were dead. Therefore, goodness was not enough. Therefore, their strength was not enough. He sat there for 3 days. He didn't eat, he didn't drink. He just waited. He waited for the nightmare to end, for his mother to wake him up and tell him it was just a bad dream. But the sun rose and the sun set, and the ruins remained. On the 4th day, a man arrived. He was not from the village. He was a traveler, an old warrior with skin like weathered leather and eyes that held a deep, sorrowful wisdom. He wore simple robes and carried a staff. His name was Gichin. Gichin walked through the ruins, surveying the destruction. He saw the bodies, he saw the devastation, and then he saw the boy. Jiren was huddled against a wall, shivering, his eyes dull and lifeless. Gichin knelt down. He didn't touch the boy. He didn't offer empty words of comfort. He simply sat with him. They sat in silence for a long time. "You are alive," Gichin said finally. His voice was like grinding stones, rough but steady. Jiren didn't answer. "The dead are gone," Gichin continued. "They cannot be brought back. But you are here. You have a choice." Jiren looked up slowly. His black eyes met the old warrior's gaze. "What choice?" Jiren whispered. It was the first time he had spoken in days. His voice was cracked and dry. "You can die here with them," Gichin said. "You can let the cold take you. Or you can stand up. You can learn." "Learn what?" "How to ensure this never happens again." Jiren looked at his hands. They were small, weak. They couldn't save anyone. "I want to be strong," Jiren said. The wish was a burning coal in his chest. "I want to be so strong that nothing can ever hurt me again." Gichin nodded. "Strength is a path. It is a long path. It is a hard path. Will you walk it?" Jiren stood up. His legs were shaky, but he stood. "Yes." Gichin took the boy in. He became his master. He became his father figure, though Jiren would never call him that. They left the Valley of Ashes. They traveled high into the mountains, to a place where the air was thin and cold, where the only thing that grew was the iron-hard moss on the rocks. Gichin had a dojo there. It was a simple structure, perched on a cliff edge. There were other students there, boys and girls who had lost their way, who sought power or purpose. Jiren became one of them. But he was different. The other students trained to learn a skill. They trained to become soldiers or guards. Jiren trained to transform his very existence. He was obsessed. Every morning, before the sun rose, Jiren was awake. He would run up the mountain paths, carrying heavy stones on his back. He would do push-ups until his arms failed, and then he would do more. He would strike the training post until his knuckles bled. Gichin watched him. He saw the potential, but he also saw the darkness. "You push too hard, Jiren," Gichin would say, watching the boy shivering from exhaustion in the snow. "I must be stronger," Jiren would gasp, trying to stand. Strength without rest is brittle, Jiren lectured. It will crack under pressure. You must learn balance. You must learn to rely on others. Others die, Jiren said. Others are weak. If I rely on them, I will fall. No, Jiren said softly. If you rely on them, you will have someone to catch you. Jiren didn't understand. He didn't want to be caught. He wanted to be the one who never fell. Years passed. Jiren grew. The sly child became a teenager. His body began to fill out, muscles hardening under the constant strain of his training. He was taller, broader. The innocence in his eyes was replaced by a steely resolve. He was the strongest student in the dojo. No one could match him in sparring. He moved faster, hit harder, and endured more pain than anyone else. The other students admired him, but they also feared him. He was distant. He didn't play games. He didn't join them for meals. He ate alone, staring at the horizon, his mind always on the next level of power. He was building the wall. He believed that if he could just reach a certain threshold, a certain number, he would be safe. He treated his soul like a fortress. Every muscle fiber was a brick. Every technique was a lock on the gate. But Jiren was not satisfied. One day he called Jiren to the meditation circle. It was a flat expanse of rock overlooking the clouds. "Sit," Jiren ordered. Jiren sat. He closed his eyes, expecting a lesson in ki control or mental focus. "You are strong, Jiren," Jiren said, walking around him. "You are stronger than I was at your age. You are stronger than any student I have ever taught." Jiren felt a flicker of pride. "Thank you, Master. But you are not complete." Jiren opened his eyes. "What do you mean?" "I can lift the mountain. I can dodge the lightning." "You fight alone," Jiren said. "You live alone. You think alone. This is your weakness." Jiren frowned. "Solitude is focus. Attachments are distractions. Attachments are force multipliers," Jiren corrected. "Look at the ants. One ant can be crushed by a raindrop. A colony can move a mountain. Look at the wolves. One wolf starves. The pack survives." "I am not an ant," Jiren said coldly. "And I am not a wolf. I am Jiren." Jiren sighed. He looked out at the purple sky. He knew that words would not teach this lesson. Only life could teach it. And he feared what life would have to do to Jiren to make him understand. "We have a mission," Jiren said, changing the subject. "There are reports of a disturbance in the southern plains. A monster is terrorizing the villages there." Jiren stood up instantly. "I will destroy it." "We," Jiren emphasized, "we will go. You, me, and your brothers and sisters. We will fight together." Jiren looked at the other students. He saw fear in their eyes. He saw hesitation. "They will slow me down," Jiren thought. But he nodded. "As you wish, Master." This was the beginning of the end of Jiren's second life. They traveled to the southern plains. It was a long journey, moving through the twisted forests of Universe 11. Jiren walked at the front, his senses extended, scanning for threats. He felt powerful. He felt ready. He had spent his entire youth preparing for this. He was going to face a monster, and this time he would not be the helpless child in the ashes. He would be the hammer. They found the monster's lair in a dark canyon. It was a creature of shadow and bone, not unlike the villain from his childhood, though lesser in power. The battle began. Jiren was magnificent. He moved like a blur, striking the beast with devastating force. He anticipated its attacks. He countered its claws. He was winning. But the beast was cunning. It realized it could not defeat Jiren, so it changed targets. It lunged at the other students. "Look out!" Gichin shouted, leaping to intercept. But Jiren was faster. He saw the danger. He saw his fellow students freezing in fear, unable to defend themselves. "Weak," Jiren thought with disdain. But he moved. He intercepted the beast's attack, taking a blow meant for a younger student. The impact sent him skidding back, his feet carving trenches in the rock. He felt pain, but he also felt something else. A strange surge of energy. He had protected someone. He had done what his parents had tried to do. "Push it back!" Gichin commanded. "Together, surround it." The students rallied. Seeing Jiren take a hit inspired them. They fired energy blasts. They distracted the beast. They worked as a unit. Jiren watched them. He saw how their combined small attacks created openings. He saw how Gichin directed the flow of battle. For a moment, just a brief moment, Jiren understood. He saw the value of the pack. He charged his energy. "Now!" he screamed. He delivered the final blow, a massive punch that shattered the beast's armor and sent it crashing into the canyon wall, defeated. Silence returned to the canyon. The students cheered. They ran to Jiren, patting him on the back, thanking him. "You saved us, Jiren. You were amazing." Jiren stood there breathing hard. He looked at Gichin. The master was smiling. It was a proud, warm smile. "You see?" Gichin asked softly. "Together." Jiren looked at his hands. They were shaking slightly, not from fear, but from adrenaline. He looked at the smiling faces of his peers. Maybe he thought, maybe I don't have to be alone. It was a seed of trust, a tiny, fragile green shoot growing in the desert of his heart. They returned to the dojo as heroes. The bond between them grew. Jiren began to train with them, not just near them. He helped them improve their forms. He shared his techniques. He felt a new kind of strength. The strength of leadership, the strength of belonging. He thought he had found the answer. He thought he had healed the wound of his childhood. But the universe is cruel, and the test was not over. The villain returned. It was years later. Jiren was a young man now. He was a master in his own right. The dojo had flourished. But the evildoer, the one who had murdered his parents, had not vanished. he had been watching, waiting, growing stronger in the dark. He came to the mountain. Jiren sensed him before he saw him. That same cold wind, that same smell of ozone and ash. The nightmare that had haunted his sleep for a decade was walking up the path. Jiren stood at the gate of the dojo, his heart hammered against his ribs. This was it, the moment of destiny. "Gichin," Jiren said, his voice steady. "He's here." Gichin stood beside him. The other students gathered behind them, weapons drawn, ki flaring. "We are ready," Gichin said. "We stand together." The villain emerged from the mist. He looked exactly the same. Time had not touched him. He was a monument to destruction. "You," Jiren growled. "I have waited for this." The villain laughed. It was a sound like breaking glass. The battle that followed was the turning point of Jiren's soul. It was not a fight. It was a war. Jiren fought with everything he had. He unleashed power that shook the mountain. He fought with the rage of the orphan and the skill of the master. And he fought with his team. They attacked in waves. They coordinated. They gave everything. But the villain was strong, too strong. He brushed aside the students like leaves in a hurricane. He broke their lines. He broke their bodies. Jiren watched in horror as his friends, the ones he had learned to trust, the ones he had opened his heart to, were struck down one by one. He saw them fall. He heard their screams. "No!" Jiren roared, pushing his power to the limit. "Stand up! Fight!" But they didn't stand up. They were dead. Or they were broken, fleeing in terror, abandoning the fight. Those who survived ran. They looked at the villain, looked at the hopeless odds, and they chose survival. They chose fear. They left Jiren alone. Again. Jiren stood amidst the bodies of his friends. The seed of trust that had been growing in his heart was ripped out by the roots. "They left me," he thought. The realization was colder than the wind. They were weak, and because they were weak, they died. Or they ran. Gichin was the last one standing beside him. The old master was bleeding. His breath was ragged, but he did not run. "Jiren," Gichin gasped. We must retreat. We cannot win this day." "Retreat." Jiren looked at him with wild eyes. "And let him win? Let him take everything again? No. We fight. We rely on each other." "There is no one left, Jiren," Gichin shouted. "They are gone. It is just us. We must survive to fight another day. Strength is absolute," Jiren screamed, repeating the mantra he had tried to bury. "If we were stronger, they wouldn't have died. If they were stronger, they wouldn't have run." The villain charged a massive blast. He aimed it at Jiren. Gichin moved. He didn't attack the villain. He pushed Jiren. He shoved his student off the cliff edge, out of the path of the blast. "Live," Gichin whispered. The blast hit Gichin. Jiren fell. He fell into the clouds, watching the light consume his master. He watched the only father he had left disappear into the energy. He didn't hear Gichin scream. He only heard the silence that followed. Jiren crashed into the snow far below. He lay there, broken, bleeding, and utterly defeated. He had tried. He had tried to trust. He had tried to believe in the power of the many, and it had cost him everything. His parents were dead because they were weak. His friends were dead because they were weak. Gichin was dead because he was protecting the weak. Jiren lay in the snow, staring up at the purple sky. The tears froze on his cheeks. Inside his heart, the door slammed shut. The lock was turned. The key was thrown away. "Never again," Jiren whispered to the cold stars. Trust is a lie. Friendship is a liability. There is only strength, absolute, solitary, overwhelming strength. He stood up. He limped away into the wilderness. He left the dead behind. He left the boy who wanted to belong behind. He walked into the wasteland to become a monster, to become a wall that nothing could ever break again. This is where the child died and the gray began. Time behaves differently for the lonely. For those surrounded by family and noise, time is a river that rushes forward, marked by birthdays, festivals, and shared meals. For Jiren, time became a desert, vast, unchanging, silent. He wandered the wastelands of Universe 11. It is a universe of stark beauty, of binary suns that cast long, double shadows across the planetary surfaces. Jiren sought the harshest environments he could find. He climbed the razor peaks of planet Bas, where the wind is sharp enough to cut rock. He meditated in the gravity wells of the gas giant Zune, where the pressure would crush a normal being into diamond. He did not seek comfort. Comfort was the enemy. Comfort was the soft whisper that said, "Rest," when he needed to say, "More." He trained. But this was not the training of the dojo. There were no katas, no sparring partners, no gentle lectures from Gichin. This was the forging of a weapon. Imagine a blacksmith folding steel, over and over again, heating it in the fire, beating it with the hammer, plunging it into cold water. Jiren was both the blacksmith and the steel. He learned to compress his energy. He learned to take the wild emotional fire of his grief and pack it down, layer by layer, until it was dense and heavy. He learned to create a barrier around his mind, a wall of pure focus that no doubt could penetrate. He stopped sleeping, in the traditional sense. Sleep was a vulnerability. Instead, he entered a state of deep, meditative suspension. He would sit cross-legged on a pinnacle of rock, floating inches above the ground. His breathing would slow until it was imperceptible. His heart rate would drop to 1 beat per minute. In this state, he was aware of everything. He could feel the rotation of the planet. He could sense the vibration of a beetle walking on a leaf 3 miles away. He was perfectly still, yet infinitely alert. He became a myth. Whispers began to spread across the galaxy. Stories of a silent guardian, a being in gray and black who would appear out of nowhere when a city was threatened, destroy the danger with a single blow, and vanish before the dust settled. He did not speak to those he saved. He did not accept rewards. He did not wave to the children. He saved them because it was efficient. He saved them because order was preferable to chaos. But he did not connect with them. Connection was the crack in the armor. One day, on the red sands of a planet called Tovale, a shadow fell over Jiren. He was meditating. The binary suns were beating down, the heat shimmering off the dunes. Jiren did not sweat. He sat in a sphere of cool, controlled air. He opened his eyes. Standing before him was a figure. He was tall, thin, dressed in the garb of a god. He had pale skin, a shock of orange hair, and the painted face of a clown. It was Belmod, the god of destruction of Universe 11. Beside him stood his angel attendant, Margarita, with her twin ponytails and staff, looking at Jiren with mild curiosity. Usually, mortals tremble before a destroyer. They bow, they beg, they flee. Jiren did not move. He did not unfold his legs. He simply looked at the god with those deep black eyes. "You are loud," Jiren said. Belmod blinked. He chuckled, a dry, rasping sound. "Loud? I haven't said a word, mortal." "Your existence is loud," Jiren replied. "Your energy disrupts the silence." Belmod smiled. It was a smile that held eons of boredom and sudden intrigue. "You are arrogant. I like that. I have been watching you, Jiren. You wander my universe like a ghost. You crush monsters. You lift mountains. And yet, you are empty." Jiren closed his eyes. "Leave me." "I know what you want," Belmod said softly. Jiren's eyes snapped open. "You seek the absolute," Belmod continued, walking closer, his boots leaving no prints in the sand. "You seek a strength that transcends loss. You seek to prove a point to a dead man." Jiren tensed. The air around him began to vibrate. The sand particles started to float, defying gravity. "Do not speak of him," Jiren warned. His voice was a low rumble, like an earthquake deep underground. "Gijin," Belmod said the name. "He was a fool, a noble fool, but a fool. He believed in teamwork. He believed in the power of friendship, and he died for it. You survived because you were strong. You are right, Jiren. Strength is the only truth." Jiren stared at the god. For the first time in years, he felt a flicker of validation. Here was a deity, a being of supreme power, agreeing with the dark lesson he had learned in the snow. "Why are you here?" Jiren asked. "Because you have reached a ceiling," Belmod said. "You are the strongest mortal in this universe. Perhaps in all universes, but you are aimless. You are a sword without a war. I offer you a scabbard." "I serve no one." "Not service," Margarita interjected, her voice like a chime. "Purpose. There is a group, the Pride Troopers, warriors of justice. They keep the peace in this universe. They need a pillar. They need a wall." Jiren scoffed. "Justice. A pretty word for the weak banding together." "Perhaps," Belmod shrugged. "But they have resources. They have information And I know about your wish. Jiren froze. You want to bring him back, Belmont whispered. Master Gichin, you want to resurrect him, not to hug him, not to tell him you missed him. You want to bring him back to show him he was wrong. You want to stand before him, the strongest being in existence, and say, I did it alone. My way worked. Your way failed. Jiren looked down at his hands. The hands that had failed to save his parents. The hands that were now strong enough to crush stars. To do that, Belmont said, you need the Super Dragon Balls. And to get those, you need to play the game. Jiren stood up. He uncrossed his legs and placed his boots on the red sand. He towered over the god of destruction. I will join your troopers, Jiren said, but I do not play games, and I do not make friends. Agreed, Belmont grinned, and so the Gray joined the Colorful. The headquarters of the Pride Troopers was located on the planet Netvis. It was a gleaming metropolis of white spires and floating platforms, a beacon of civilization and order. Toppo was the leader. He was a massive man with a magnificent mustache and hands the size of shovels. He radiated charisma. He spoke constantly of justice and evil, posing dramatically, inspiring the citizens. He was everything Jiren was not. When Jiren arrived, wearing the red and black uniform of the troopers, the room went silent. Dyspo, the speed warrior capable of moving faster than sound, looked at Jiren nervously. Cocotte, the dimensional manipulator, adjusted her glasses. They could feel the pressure radiating from him. It wasn't malice. It was just heaviness. It was like standing next to a black hole. Welcome, Jiren, Toppo boomed, extending a massive hand. It is an honor to have you. Together, we shall purge evil from the 11th universe. Jiren looked at the hand. He did not shake it. I will handle the threats you cannot, Jiren said calmly. Do not get in my way. He walked past Toppo, finding a quiet corner of the headquarters. He stood there, arms crossed, eyes closed. He was with them, but he was not of them. Years went by. The legend of the Pride Troopers grew. Toppo and the others handled the day-to-day crimes. They stopped bank robbers, saved cats from trees, and fought minor warlords. They worked as a team. They had barbecues on the weekends. They laughed. Jiren did not attend the barbecues. He only moved when the threat was existential. When a giant asteroid threatened a colony, Jiren flew up and punched it into dust. When a galactic conqueror brought an armada, Jiren flew into space and destroyed the flagship with a glare. He was the nuclear option. Toppo tried. He really tried to reach him. One night, finding Jiren meditating on the roof of the headquarters, looking out at the city lights, Toppo sat nearby. Jiren, Toppo said, his voice unusually quiet. Why do you distance yourself? We are comrades. We would die for you. That is the problem, Jiren replied without turning. What is? If you die for me, you are wasted. If I have to save you, I am distracted. Emotional entanglement leads to hesitation. Hesitation leads to death. Gichin believed Gichin is dead, Jiren cut him off. The air pressure on the roof dropped. He died because he believed in you, in people like you. He trusted the weak to be strong. I will not make that mistake. I protect this universe because it is my duty. I protect you because you are assets. But do not mistake my presence for brotherhood. Toppo looked at Jiren's back. He saw the width of his shoulders. He saw the immense power coiled there. But he also saw the terrible, crushing loneliness. It must be cold, Toppo whispered. To be the strongest. Jiren didn't answer. He didn't feel the cold anymore. He was the ice. Then came the summons. It was age 780. The fabric of the multiverse began to tremble. The Grand Minister, the angel of all angels, sent a message to all the supreme Kais and gods of destruction. A tournament, the tournament of power. 8 universes would compete in the world of void. The winning universe would receive a wish from the Super Dragon Balls. The losing universes would be erased. Belmont received the message in his palace. He dropped his wine glass. Erased. Everything. His schemes, his power, his life. Gone. He summoned the Pride Troopers immediately. They gathered in the war room. The hologram of the Grand Minister faded, leaving a heavy silence. We have to fight, Dyspo said, his ears twitching nervously. If we lose, we vanish. We need a team of 10, Toppo said, looking at the roster. The strongest warriors in the universe. All eyes turned to Jiren. He was standing in the shadows, arms crossed. I refuse, Jiren said. The room gasped. Refuse, Belmont shouted, slamming his fist on the table. Jiren, did you not hear? Erasure, oblivion. If you don't fight, you die anyway. Leave this universe, Jiren said calmly. Who protects it? While we are playing games in the void, villains will rise here. Innocents will suffer. I will not trade lives for a tournament. You stubborn mule, Belmont growled. There won't be any lives left to protect if Zeno wipes us out. Then we prepare for erasure, Jiren said. I will not abandon my post. He turned to leave. He was walking out on the salvation of the universe because it conflicted with his code. He was absolute. He was immovable. The Super Dragon Balls, Belmont said. Jiren stopped. His hand hovered over the door panel. The prize for the MVP, Belmont said, his voice silky and desperate. The Super Dragon Balls. They can grant any wish, even a wish that defies the natural order, even a wish to bring back a man who has been dead for decades, and ask him the question that haunts you. The silence in the room stretched. Jiren thought of Gichin. He thought of the snow. He thought of the weakness that had cost him everything. He wanted to know. He needed to know. If he brought Gichin back, and Gichin saw him now, saw the Jiren who could shake the cosmos, the Jiren who needed no one, would the old master finally admit he was wrong? Would he finally say, "You did well, Jiren"? Or perhaps Jiren just wanted to prove that strength could undo death itself. Jiren turned around. His face was a mask of stone. "Fine," Jiren said. "I will enter your tournament, but I have a condition." "Name it," Toppo said. "If anything happens to Universe 11 while we are gone, if any villain attacks, I will leave the tournament immediately to destroy them, regardless of the rules, regardless of the erasure." "Agreed," Belmont said quickly. Jiren walked back to the table. He looked at the hologram of the arena. He looked at the profiles of the warriors from other universes. He saw a picture of a Saiyan from Universe 7, a man with spiky black hair and a goofy grin. Goku. Jiren felt nothing. No excitement, no fear. More weaklings, Jiren thought, grouping together to pretend they are strong. He would crush them. He would crush them all, not out of malice, but out of necessity. He would be the wall that the other universes broke themselves against. He would win the Super Dragon Balls. He would resurrect Gichin. And he would finally, after all these years, close the circle of his trauma. "Prepare the ship," Jiren commanded. The journey to the world of void was quiet. The bright troopers sat in the transport cube, nervous energy radiating off them. Kasseral sharpened his energy blades. Dyspo tapped his foot. Toppo muttered prayers to justice. Jiren sat in the center. He floated a few inches off the floor. His eyes were closed. He was meditating. He was visualizing the arena. He visualized himself standing in the center. He visualized enemies charging him. He visualized the impact of his fists. In his mind, he was already alone in the void. He did not know that he was flying toward the most significant moment of his life. He did not know that the Saiyan with the goofy grin was not just another weakling, but a mirror. He did not know that his wall was about to be tested, not by force, but by fire. The cube slowed. The doors opened. The world of void awaited. An infinite blackness with no stars, no time, and no sound. Jiren stepped out. The gravity was heavy here. The air was thin. It felt like home. He walked to the edge of the fighting stage. He looked across the vast arena. He saw them. 80 warriors. Monsters, robots, wizards and warriors. And there, across the expanse, staring back at him with eager teal eyes, was Son Goku. Jiren's eyes narrowed slightly. "So?" Jiren whispered to the silence. "It begins." He unfolded his arms. He let a fraction of his energy leak out. The entire arena shook. The void itself seemed to shiver. Jiren. The Gray had arrived, and he was ready to teach the multiverse a lesson in absolute strength. The tournament of power had begun. To the spectators watching from the divine stands, it was a spectacle of light and sound. 80 warriors from 8 universes, clashing in a storm of energy. Explosions rocked the arena. Beams of fire and ice crisscrossed the black sky. The sound was a deafening roar of combat, shouts of effort, the crack of breaking stone, the hum of rising power. But to Jiren, it was noise. He stood in the center of the arena. He did not move. He did not take a fighting stance. He simply stood, his arms crossed over his broad chest, his boots planted firmly on the kitchen tile. He was an island in a hurricane. Warriors from other universes rushed past him. They fought around him, but they did not attack him. There was a pressure radiating from Jiren, a heavy, invisible gravity that pushed the world away. It was a silent warning written in the air itself. Do not approach. Jiren watched. His black eyes tracked the movements of the battle without turning his head. He saw the warriors of Universe 7. He saw Vegeta, the proud prince, blasting enemies with bursts of blue light. He saw Frieza, the tyrant, toying with his victims. He saw the androids fighting in perfect synchronization. Chaos, Jiren thought. Disorder. He saw his own teammates, the Pride Troopers, engaging in the fray. He saw Dyspo using his speed to overwhelm opponents. He saw Toppo shouting about justice as he grappled with a villain. Jiren felt a flicker of disappointment. Even Toppo, the second strongest, was struggling. He was sweating. He was exerting himself. Why do they expend so much energy? Jiren wondered. Why do they drag out the inevitable? To Jiren, a fight should not be a dance. It should not be a conversation. It should be a conclusion, a single blow, a singular expression of absolute dominance. Anything else was inefficiency. Anything else was weakness. Occasionally, a warrior would be foolish enough to enter Jiren's radius, a massive creature from Universe 3, a spinning top of metal and blades, lost control and careened toward him. Jiren didn't flinch. He didn't uncross his arms. He simply glared. An invisible wall of ki slammed into the creature. The metal twisted. The spinning stopped instantly. The creature was thrown backward, skidding across the arena and falling off the edge into the infinite void. Jiren didn't watch it fall. He had already dismissed it. He was bored. He stood there, surrounded by the greatest fighters in the multiverse, and he felt utterly alone. There was no challenge here. There was no one who could force him to unfold his arms. He thought of Gichin. He thought of the mountain. Is this it, Master? He thought. Is this the pinnacle? I'm standing at the top, and there is nothing here but silence. But the silence was about to break. From the other side of the arena, a golden light flared. It was Son Goku. The Saiyan had finished his warm-ups. He had fought through the fodder. Now he was looking for the summit. Goku locked eyes with Jiren. He stepped forward. The crowd parted. The other fights seemed to slow down, the universe holding its breath as the two poles of power aligned. Belmod, the god of destruction of Universe 11, leaned forward in his seat. Jiren! Belmod's voice cut through the noise, telepathically echoing in Jiren's mind. Crush him! Crush Son Goku! Show them the difference between a fighter and a legend! Jiren opened his eyes fully. Understood. He took a step. The arena shook. It wasn't a tremor. It was a shift in the atmosphere. The air became heavy, hard to breathe. The temperature dropped. Goku approached. He started in his base form, throwing a flurry of punches. Jiren didn't dodge. He didn't block. He simply let the attacks hit him. They were like rain falling on granite. They did nothing. Goku transformed. His hair turned gold. Super Saiyan. The punches got faster, harder. Jiren didn't blink. Goku transformed again. Super Saiyan God. Red hair. Godly ki. He moved faster than eyesight. Jiren lifted one finger. He blocked a punch that could shatter a moon with the tip of his index finger. "Is that all?" Jiren asked. His voice was flat, devoid of mockery, simply stating a fact. Goku gritted his teeth. He jumped back. The blue aura exploded around him. Super Saiyan Blue. The power of a Super Saiyan with the control of a god. He attacked again. This time, Jiren had to move his hand. He swatted Goku away like a fly. He grabbed Goku's leg, spun him around, and slammed him into the floor. The impact cratered the hardest material in the cosmos. Goku gasped, lying in the rubble. He looked up at Jiren. He didn't look afraid. He looked excited. "You really are strong," Goku laughed, wiping blood from his mouth. "I've never felt anything like this. It's like fighting a wall." "Give up," Jiren said. "It is over." "Not yet," Goku said. "I can't beat you with strength. I know that now. You're way above me. But I'm not fighting alone." Goku flew up to a high pillar of rock. He raised his hands to the sky. "Everyone," Goku shouted, "lend me your energy." Jiren watched. He recognized the technique. The spirit bomb. The Genki Dama. It was a technique that required trust. It required the user to be vulnerable, to ask for help, and it required others to give a part of themselves. Blue lights began to float up from the stands. Vegeta, Piccolo, Gohan, Frieza, they all contributed. The energy gathered in Goku's hands, forming a massive, swirling sphere of blue light. It grew larger and larger, humming with the collective power of Universe 7. Toppo shouted a warning. "Jiren, attack him now! Don't let him finish it!" Jiren raised a hand to silence Toppo. "No," Jiren said. "Let him come." "But Jiren, I will wait," Jiren said. He wanted this. He wanted Goku to use his ultimate weapon. He wanted Goku to use the power of trust, because Jiren wanted to break it. He wanted to prove on the grandest stage of existence that Gichin was wrong. He wanted to prove that a collection of weaklings, no matter how much they trusted each other, could not stand against one being of absolute, solitary perfection. He would not just defeat Goku. He would defeat the very concept of friendship. The spirit bomb was ready. It was the size of a small sun. It cast a blue glow over the entire arena, illuminating Jiren's gray face. "Here it goes!" Goku screamed. "Take this! Spirit bomb!" He threw it. The sphere descended. It was heavy. It crackled with electricity. It moved with the momentum of a falling planet. Jiren stood his ground. He looked up at the blue death rushing toward him. He didn't fire a blast. He didn't punch. He simply glared. He pushed his ki out through his eyes. A wall of invisible force rose up to meet the bomb. The spirit bomb hit the invisible wall. It stopped. The air shrieked. The ground beneath Jiren's feet cracked, turning to dust, but Jiren did not sink. He did not bend his knees. He pushed back. "What?" Goku gasped. He was pushing with everything he had, his arms shaking, his veins popping. He was using the Kaioken, multiplying his power 10 times, 20 times. But the bomb was moving backward. Jiren was pushing the collective hope of Universe 7 back toward Goku with nothing but his will. "It is heavy," Jiren thought, "because it carries their desperate hope. But hope is not strength." Jiren let out a breath. He shouted, "Ah!" The invisible wall became a battering ram. The spirit bomb shot back at Goku. Goku screamed. He was swallowed by his own attack. The blue light expanded, consuming the pillar, consuming Goku. There was a blinding flash, a massive implosion, and then a black hole. The spirit bomb collapsed in on itself, taking Goku with it. Silence fell over the world of void. The crater where the pillar had stood was empty. There was no sign of Goku, no body, no energy signature. He evaporated himself, the Grand Minister noted calmly. Jiren unfolded his arms. He smoothed his uniform. He looked at the empty space. "It is done," Jiren said. He felt a grim satisfaction. He had proven it. The power of trust had shattered against the power of solitude. He was right. Gichin was wrong. He turned his back on the crater. He began to walk away. "The Saiyan is gone," Jiren announced to the other warriors who were staring in horror. "Who is next?" But the void is a strange place. Just as Jiren took his third step, the ground trembled. It wasn't a physical tremor, it was a spiritual one. The air suddenly felt hot. A beam of light shot up from the darkness of the crater. It was a pillar of white-hot heat piercing the black sky. Jiren stopped. He turned around slowly. Goku was rising from the abyss. But he was different. His shirt was torn off. His body was steaming. His hair was black, but it floated slightly, as if underwater. And his eyes were silver. Jiren frowned. "What is this?" He sensed Goku's energy. It was strange. It was calm, terrifyingly calm. It felt like a deep, still ocean. Goku landed on a rock. He didn't speak, he didn't scream, he just looked at Jiren. Jiren felt a prickle on the back of his neck. For the first time in decades, his instincts whispered a warning. "You survived," Jiren said, "but you are empty. You have no stamina left." Jiren launched a punch. It was a casual blow meant to finish the job. Goku didn't block. He didn't dodge in the way a martial artist dodges, predicting and moving. His body just moved. Goku flowed around Jiren's fist like water flowing around a stone. He slid past Jiren's guard. Jiren struck again. Faster. Goku swayed. His movements were fluid, unconscious. He wasn't thinking. He was reacting faster than thought. Jiren grew irritated. "Stop dodging!" He unleashed a flurry of punches, a wall of fists moving at the speed of light. Goku wove through them, and then he struck back. A knee to Jiren's gut. It wasn't a hard blow. Jiren's durability was immense, but it was a blow that connected. Jiren stumbled back a step. He looked at his stomach. He looked at Goku. Impossible, Jiren thought. He was defeated. He was crushed. Where is this coming from? Goku attacked. He moved with a grace that was mesmerizing. He was fighting on instinct, ultra instinct. Jiren was forced to defend himself. For the first time in the tournament, he had to use two hands. He had to back up. He blocked a kick. He parried a punch. This heat, Jiren muttered, this heat radiating from him. It is the heat of a limit being broken. They fought across the arena. The clash was silent and violent. They moved so fast that the other warriors couldn't see them, only the shockwaves of their impacts appearing in the air. Jiren felt a new emotion rising in his chest. Confusion. Why? Why did this mortal refuse to stay down? Why did he get stronger when he was pushed to the brink? Jiren got stronger by training in solitude. Goku seemed to get stronger by suffering. I do not understand, Jiren growled. But strength is absolute. Gathered his energy. He stopped playing. He flared his aura. A massive wall of red fire. He caught Goku's fist. Your time is up, Jiren said. The silver light in Goku's eyes flickered. The form was temporary. It was unstable. Goku had burned through the energy of the spirit bomb, and now he was running on fumes. Goku tried to fire a blast, but it fizzled. Jiren punched him. It was a palm strike to the chest. A blast of compressed air that sent Goku flying across the entire width of the arena. Goku crashed into a wall, the silver glow fading, his eyes rolling back. He was down. Truly down this time. Jiren stood panting slightly. He looked at his hand. It was throbbing. He had won. Again. But the victory tasted like ash. He had defeated Goku, but he hadn't broken him. Goku hadn't given up. His body had simply failed. The ideology hadn't been crushed. It had just run out of time. Jiren looked around the arena. The chaos had resumed. Hit, the assassin from Universe 6, arrived to challenge him. Jiren defeated Hit. It was a brutal fight, a battle against time itself, but Jiren's power transcended time. He broke Hit's time cage with his eyes. He blasted the assassin out of the ring. I am the strongest, Jiren said to the void. There is no one left. He looked at the remaining warriors. Goku was being carried away by Frieza. Vegeta was fighting Toppo. Jiren felt a profound sense of weariness. Not physical fatigue. His reserves were endless, but spiritual fatigue. He had come here to prove a point. He had proven it. He was the strongest. And yet, the silence inside him was louder than ever. I am done, Jiren announced. He walked to the center of the remaining stage. He sat down. He crossed his legs. He placed his hands on his knees. He closed his eyes. "Jiren?" Belmont called out, confused. "What are you doing? There are still enemies. Finish them." "The warriors capable of challenging me are gone," Jiren said, his voice echoing calmly. "The rest are trash. You handle them, Toppo. Dyspo." He began to meditate. A red barrier of energy formed around him. A perfect sphere of protection. In the middle of a battle royale, with the fate of the universe on the line, Jiren chose to sleep. It was the ultimate display of arrogance. It was a declaration that the other warriors were not even worth his attention. But deep down, in the quiet of his mind, it was a retreat. He needed to go back to the desert. He needed to go back to the silence. He needed to wash away the confusion that Goku's silver eyes had caused. He floated in the red sphere, safe, untouchable, alone. He told himself he was meditating to conserve energy. But in the darkness behind his eyelids, he saw Gichin. He saw the snow, and he saw Goku rising from the light, proving that perhaps a wall could be climbed. "Strength is absolute," Jiren repeated in his mind, like a mantra, trying to drown out the doubt. He sat in the eye of the storm, a god of strength waiting for the end of the world. But the storm was not over, and the Saiyans were not done climbing. Jiren sat in meditation. Inside the barrier of energy, it was quiet. The roar of the tournament was a muffled hum, distant and irrelevant. He was suspended in a red twilight, his mind a blank slate. He was conserving his strength, waiting for the clock to run out, waiting for the inevitable victory of Universe 11. He was the mountain. The world could rage around him, but the mountain did not move. But the mountain can feel the tremors in the earth. Jiren felt them. He felt the spikes of energy outside his shell. He felt the desperation of Universe 7. He felt the fall of his comrades. He felt Dyspo, the speed warrior, ring out. He felt Toppo, his second in command, cast aside his beliefs, embracing the power of destruction, only to be defeated by the sheer will of Vegeta. Jiren opened his eyes. The red barrier dissolved. He stood up. He looked at Toppo, who lay battered on the edge of the spectator stands. Toppo looked at Jiren with hopeful eyes, expecting a word of comfort, a nod of acknowledgement. "You look pathetic," Jiren said. "Toppo." It was a cold statement. It was not an insult born of malice, but of disappointment. Toppo had cast aside his justice to win, and he had still lost. He had shown weakness. Jiren turned his back on his friend. He faced the remaining warriors of Universe 7. Goku, Vegeta, Android 17, Frieza. They were battered. They were exhausted. They were barely standing, and yet they stood. "Why?" Jiren asked, his voice echoing across the shattered arena. "Why do you persist? Your bodies are broken. Your energy is spent. You cannot win." "Because we have something to protect," Vegeta panted, clutching his arm. "Something a hollow shell like you wouldn't understand." Jiren narrowed his eyes. "Protection is a burden. It weighs you down. He walked forward. The pressure of his presence cracked the floor tiles. The battle resumed. It was not a duel anymore. It was a siege. The four warriors attacked Jiren all at once. Beams of energy, coordinated strikes, desperate gambits. Jiren walked through it. He swatted Vegeta aside. He kicked Frieza into the rocks. He punched Android 17 through a pillar. He was dismantling them piece by piece. He was showing them the futility of their struggle, but they kept getting up. Android 17, the machine with infinite energy, stood on a floating rock. He looked at Jiren. He saw something the others didn't. He saw the wish. "You're haunted," 17 said, smiling calmly. "You want the Super Dragon Balls to fix your past. You're just a scared little boy who thinks power will fix his broken heart." Jiren stopped. The air around him froze. "Silence," Jiren whispered. "You think if you're strong enough, no one will leave you," 17 continued. "But you're already alone, Jiren. You're the loneliest guy in the arena." Jiren roared. It was a sound of pure fury. He fired a blast at 17. A massive, overwhelming wave of energy. 17 didn't dodge. He created barriers. He held the blast back. He sacrificed himself, exploding his own energy core to protect Goku and Vegeta to buy them time. Jiren watched the smoke clear. 17 was gone. A foolish sacrifice, Jiren noted. He died for nothing. But he hadn't. He had bought a moment. A moment for Vegeta to give the last of his energy to Goku. A moment for the seed to be planted. Vegeta fell, ringing out, leaving Goku alone on the stage. Goku stood up. He was trembling. He was running on the fumes of trust. He had the energy of his rival in his veins. "Jiren," Goku said. His voice was quiet. Jiren looked at him. "You are the last one. It ends now." Jiren attacked. He punched Goku. He pounded him into the ground. He dragged him across the rock. "Where is your trust now?" Jiren shouted, striking Goku again and again. "Where is your power of friendship? It is gone. It is dust. Just like my village. Just like my master." He was projecting. He was fighting the ghosts of his past, beating them into the ground using Goku's body. Goku lay on the edge of the arena. The void was inches away. Jiren stood over him, charging a final blast. "Farewell," Jiren said. He fired, but the blast didn't hit. It evaporated. Jiren blinked. The red energy he had fired simply vanished. Heat. A tremendous, suffocating heat filled the arena. It wasn't the heat of fire. It was the heat of a star being born. It radiated from the figure standing on the edge of the cliff. Goku had turned around. His hair was silver. Completely silver. His eyebrows were silver. His eyes were a piercing, crystalline gray. He was calm. He was silent. The mastered Ultra Instinct. The gods in the stands stood up. Even the destroyers held their breath. This was the state of the angels. This was the pinnacle of martial arts. "Jiren," Goku said. His voice echoed with a myriad of tones, layered and divine. "It's not over." Jiren stepped back. He felt it. The wall he had built, the fortress of strength he had constructed over decades. It was trembling. "Strength," Jiren growled. "Strength is absolute." He fired a blast. A kill shot. Goku walked through it. The energy dissipated around him like mist. Goku appeared in front of Jiren. He punched. It wasn't a blur. Jiren saw it coming. He saw the fist, but he couldn't stop it. The punch hit his chest with the force of a collapsing galaxy. Jiren flew backward. He crashed into a mountain of rock, burying himself in the debris. He exploded out of the rubble, screaming, "I will not lose!" Jiren powered up. He broke his own limits. His aura turned from red to a burning, jagged violet. His shirt ripped away, revealing a torso of scarred granite muscle. Veins bulged on his forehead. He looked like a demon. He looked like the villain he hated. The clash began. Silver against violet. They fought in the air. They fought on the rocks. They fought in the spaces between seconds. The entire world of void shook. The infinite nothingness began to crack, unable to contain the sheer weight of their existence. Jiren was fighting for his life. He was fighting for his worldview. If he lost here, everything he believed, everything Gichin's death had taught him, was a lie. "I cannot lose!" Jiren screamed, firing a storm of energy blasts. "If I lose, I am nothing. I am the weakling in the ashes." Goku moved through the storm. He was untouched. He was water. He was wind. He reached Jiren. He struck him. A punch to the face, a kick to the ribs, an energy blast to the gut. Jiren was being beaten. The strongest mortal in the multiverse was being dismantled by a warrior who fought for others. Jiren panicked. For the first time since he was a child, fear took the wheel. "Why?" Jiren shouted, looking at the stands where Goku's friends were watching. "Why are you so strong? What do you have that I don't?" He looked at Krillin. He looked at Master Roshi. He looked at the weaklings Goku protected. "This is your source?" Jiren roared. "This garbage?" In a moment of madness, Jiren fired a blast. Not at Goku, at the stands. He tried to kill Goku's friends. He tried to destroy the source of Goku's strength, to prove that attachments were a liability. Goku moved. He appeared in front of the stands. He deflected the blast with one hand, but his face changed. The calm, silver eyes narrowed. The divine tranquility broke. "Jiren," Goku said. His voice was low, dangerous. "I don't think I'm a hero of justice," Goku said, clenching his fist. The silver aura flared, turning jagged and wild. "But anyone who hurts my friends, I will never forgive." Goku attacked. This was not a fight. It was a punishment. Goku hit Jiren with a rage that transcended the technique. He punched Jiren into the air. He flew above him. He hammered him down. Jiren crashed into the central pillar of the arena. He lay there, coughing up blood. He looked up. Goku stood above him, charging a Kamehameha. Jiren looked at the blue light. He looked at the silver warrior. He remembered Gichin. He remembered the last words of his master. Teamwork. I was wrong, Jiren thought. The realization was more painful than the punches. Is this the power of trust? He felt his strength leaving him. The wall had crumbled. The fortress had fallen. It is over, Jiren whispered. He closed his eyes. He waited for the end. He waited for the final darkness that would reunite him with the ghosts he had failed. Goku fired. The blue beam engulfed Jiren. It pushed him down through the rocks, down toward the void. Jiren fell. He fell through the light, stripped of his pride, stripped of his philosophy. He was just a man, a lonely, broken man falling into the abyss. But the tournament was not over. Goku's form broke. The toll of Ultra Instinct shattered his body. He collapsed before he could knock Jiren off. Jiren landed on a floating piece of debris. He was still in bounds. He looked up. He saw Goku writhing in pain on the rocks above. Jiren stood up slowly. He was shaking. He was battered. But he was alive. And he wasn't alone. Frieza emerged from the rubble. And Android 17, who had survived his own explosion, stood up from the dust. Jiren looked at them. 3 broken warriors against 1 broken god. Jiren laughed. It was a dry, hollow sound. He had lost the battle of ideology. But the battle for survival, that was still happening. He clenched his fists one last time. The violet flame flickered around him, weak but present. Come, Jiren whispered to the weary survivors. Let us finish this. The final act was about to begin. Not a battle of gods, but a brawl of mortals clinging to the edge of existence. The arena was a ruin. The great stage, once a pristine disk of Kachin tile, a marvel of divine engineering, was now a fractured archipelago of floating rocks, drifting in the endless dark. Jiren stood on one of these islands. He was exhausted. The absolute wall had been chipped away, revealing the mortal man beneath. His uniform, once a pristine symbol of his invulnerability, was torn to shreds, revealing scarred, grey skin that was bruised and battered. His breath came in ragged gasps, steaming in the cold air of the void. His arms, usually held crossed in a posture of dominance, hung heavy at his sides. Facing him were the remnants of Universe 7. Android 17, the machine with the human heart, knelt on the ground, his energy barrier shattered, his clothes scorched. Frieza, the tyrant, the emperor of evil, stood with one eye swollen shut, part of his tail missing, panting with a mixture of rage and desperation. And Goku, the Saiyan who could not be put down. He could barely stand. His hair flickered between black and gold, a dying flame struggling to stay lit. His body was ravaged by the backlash of the gods, his muscles twitching with spasms of pain. 3 broken warriors against 1 broken legend. The silence of the void pressed in on them. It was a heavy, suffocating silence, amplified by the sheer scale of the power they had expended. It ends now, Jiren whispered. But the conviction was gone. The cold certainty that had defined his life, the belief that strength was a solitary pursuit, was replaced by a strange, hollow curiosity. He watched them. He watched Frieza and Goku, mortal enemies who hated each other with every fiber of their being, stand side by side. He saw the way they leaned into each other's space, not out of affection, but out of necessity. "Ready, monkey?" Frieza sneered, golden energy flaring around him, a last desperate spike of power. "Yeah," Goku grinned, forcing his trembling legs to hold him up, locking his eyes on the target. "Let's go." They charged. It was not a display of perfect technique. It was not a choreographed dance of martial arts masters. It was a brawl. It was desperate, messy, and tragically beautiful. Jiren met them. He fought with the last reserves of his strength. He summoned the violet aura, but it was jagged now, flickering like a candle in the wind. He blocked Frieza's beam with a forearm that felt like lead. He caught Goku's punch with a hand that trembled from impact. But he felt the difference. When he had fought them alone, they broke. When he hit them now, they bounced back. They covered for each other. Frieza took a hit to the ribs so Goku could land a kick. Goku created an opening with a feint so 17 could fire a blast from the flank. They were a web. A tangled, chaotic web of trust and necessity. And Jiren was a stone falling into it. The more he struggled, the tighter they held him. "This is it," Jiren realized as Goku and Frieza rushed him together. "This is the strength Gichin spoke of." It wasn't a philosophical concept anymore. It was physics. Two forces pushing in the same direction were stronger than one force standing still. Frieza tackled him. The tyrant abandoned all dignity, wrapping his arms around Jiren's waist, driving him toward the edge. Goku threw them both. They plummeted toward the edge of the stage. Jiren looked at Goku. He saw the determination in the Saiyan's eyes. It wasn't the desire to be the strongest. It wasn't the desire to win a trophy. It was the desire to protect. Jiren felt the edge of the rock crumble beneath his boots. Gravity, the great equalizer, took hold. He didn't fight the fall. For the first time in his life, since the day he stood in the ashes of his village, Jiren let go. He smiled. It was a small, almost imperceptible softening of his features. It was an acknowledgement, a surrender not to weakness, but to a truth he had denied for too long. They fell into the void. Jiren, Goku, and Frieza dropped into the infinite darkness, becoming specks against the nothingness. Universe 11, the Grand Minister's voice echoed, calm and final, is erased. The sensation of erasure was not painful. It was not violent. One moment Jiren was falling through the dark. The next, he was sitting on a bench in the spectator stance. The void around him vanished. The sounds of battle ceased. He was sitting next to Toppo and Dyspo. But something was wrong. The world was losing its color. The edges of his vision were turning white. He looked at his hands. They were becoming transparent, like smoke drifting on a breeze. He could see the bench through his palms. Belmont looked at Jiren. The clown god smiled, a look of peaceful resignation on his face. He did not scream. He did not bargain. "You fought well, Jiren," Belmont said softly. Jiren watched his legs fade away. He felt his consciousness untethering from reality. I failed, Jiren said. His voice was a whisper, fading as fast as his body. I could not bring him back. I could not prove my strength. Perhaps, Toppo said, placing a ghostly hand on Jiren's fading shoulder. But you fought for us. In the end, you were our wall. You gave everything. Jiren closed his eyes. I'm sorry, Jiren thought. Gichin, mother, father, I am coming to the silence. The darkness took him. He expected oblivion. He expected the absolute end of consciousness. He expected the cold, eternal sleep he had chased his entire life to finally consume him completely. But there was no silence. There was a roar. A sound like a golden river rushing through the cosmos. A sound that vibrated through the very fabric of existence. Come forth, divine dragon, and grant my wish. It was Android 17's voice. Even in the void of non-existence, the voice carried weight. Jiren felt a warmth. It started in his chest, exactly where the pain of his parents' death had lived for so long. It was a spark, a tiny golden ember in the cold dark. It spread. It moved through his limbs, chasing away the numbness. It was a restorative heat, like the sun rising after a long polar night. He took a breath. The air tasted of ozone and dry earth. He opened his eyes. He was not in the void. He was not in hell. He was not in the white nothingness of erasure. He was standing on the red soil of planet Netphis. The binary suns of Universe 11 were shining down on him, casting their familiar double shadows. The wind was blowing through the white spires of the Pride Trooper headquarters, carrying the scent of the city, dust, metal and life. He looked around. Toppo was there, staring at his own hands in disbelief. Dyspo was checking his pulse. Belmont was looking up at the sky, his mouth open. They were all alive. They were all whole. Toppo stammered, looking at Jiren. We are back. Jiren looked up at the sky. He understood immediately. The wish. The winner of the tournament, the last man standing, hadn't wished for infinite power. He hadn't wished for a cruise ship or eternal life. He had wished for the restoration of the erased universes. Goku's team had saved them. The weaklings, who relied on trust, had used their victory to save their enemies. Why? Jiren whispered. The question hung in the air. Why save us? We tried to destroy them. Toppo walked up to him. He placed a heavy hand on Jiren's shoulder. It felt solid. It felt real. Because, Toppo said gently, that is what strength does, Jiren. True strength doesn't just crush. It lifts. It forgives. Jiren looked at Toppo. For the first time, he didn't see a weakling relying on justice to hide his inadequacy. He didn't see a distraction. He saw a friend. He saw a man who had stood by him even when Jiren pushed him away with insults and coldness. Toppo, Jiren said. His voice was thick with emotion he hadn't felt since he was a child. The wall in his throat was cracking. Yes, Jiren? I have much to learn. Toppo smiled. It was the biggest, warmest smile the universe had ever seen. It crinkled his eyes and lifted his mustache. Then, let us learn together, Toppo said. The Pride Troopers are a team, and a team is never finished. Later that evening, while the city celebrated their return with fireworks that lit up the purple sky, Jiren left the headquarters. He did not go to the wasteland to brood. He did not go to the Razor Peaks to train in isolation. He went to the mountains of Othgal. He flew to the remote region where the snow lay thick on the ground, far from the lights of the capital. He walked up the winding path, his boots crunching in the fresh powder. The air was thin here, cold. It bit at his skin, a sharp reminder of his mortality. He walked to the ruins of the old dojo. The wooden beams were rotted, the stone walls crumbled by time. This was the place where his second life had begun and ended. He found the stone marker. It was simple, a rough slab of granite weathered by years of wind and ice. Here lies Gichin, master, father, friend. Jiren knelt in the snow. The cold seeped into his knees, but he didn't use his ki to block it out. He let himself feel it. He let himself be present in the physical world. He placed a massive hand on the cold stone. Master, Jiren said softly. The wind howled through the peaks, whistling a lonely tune that sounded like the voices of the past. I sought the absolute, Jiren confessed to the grave. I sought a strength that needed no one. I thought that if I was a wall, I could never be hurt again. I thought that if I pushed everyone away, I would never have to mourn them. He paused. In his mind's eye, he saw the silver eyes of Goku. He saw the barrier of Android 17. He saw the desperate, clawing teamwork of Frieza. I was wrong, Jiren said. The words were heavy, but releasing them made him feel lighter. I was weak because I was afraid. He lowered his head until it touched the cold stone. I was afraid of losing again. I was afraid of the pain of holding on to something fragile. So I became stone. But stone cannot grow. He dug into his pocket. He pulled out a small object. It was a shard of stone he had carried for years, a piece of the wind chimes from his childhood home, recovered from the ashes decades ago. He placed it on the grave, an offering of the past to the past. But I am still here, Jiren said, lifting his head. And they are still here. And we have a future. He stood up. The wind whipped his uniform, but he stood tall. Not as a fortress, but as a man. I will not forget the past, Jiren promised. But I will not live in it. I will build connections. I will trust. And the next time we meet, I hope I can tell you a story about friendship. He turned and walked down the mountain. He didn't walk alone. In his heart, the ghosts were quiet. They were no longer haunting him. They were walking with him. His parents, Gichin, his fallen friends. They were no longer evidence of his failure. They were the foundation of his future. Jiren returned to the city. He flew back to the headquarters. He found the Pride troopers gathered in the mess hall. It was late, but the lights were bright. The room smelled of roasted meat and spices, the smell of life. They were eating, they were laughing. Toppo was telling a story with wild gestures, reenacting his fight with Vegeta. Dyspo was arguing with Cocotte about the physics of the spirit bomb. Casserole was laughing so hard he was crying. Jiren stood in the doorway. Usually he would have turned away. He would have gone to the roof to meditate in silence, to separate himself from the distraction. But tonight he stepped inside. The sound of his boots on the floor cut through the laughter. The room went quiet. 10 pairs of eyes turned to him. There was a moment of hesitation, a moment of fear that the silent guardian had come to scold them for their noise. "Jiren?" Toppo asked, standing up halfway. Jiren walked over to the table. He pulled out a metal chair. It scraped against the floor, a loud, jarring sound in the quiet room. He sat down. He rested his elbows on the table. He looked at the empty space on the platter in front of him. "Is there any food left?" Jiren asked. The silence held for 1 second more. And then the room erupted. "Yes!" Dyspo shouted, grabbing a plate. "Here, try the roast beast. It's spicy." "Jiren sits!" Toppo boomed, laughing so hard he slapped the table. "A toast to Jiren." "Pass him the water." "Move over, give him space." Jiren accepted the plate. He accepted the glass. He accepted the chaotic, noisy, messy warmth of his family. He took a bite. It tasted like spices. It tasted like home. He listened to the noise. He listened to the laughter bouncing off the walls. And for the first time in his life, the noise didn't bother him. It didn't feel like chaos. It sounded like music. It sounded like a symphony of survival. The wall had fallen. And in its place, a bridge had been built. Jiren is still the strongest mortal in Universe 11. He is still a quiet man. He still meditates on the roof. But now, when he meditates, he does not create a barrier. He leaves his mind open. He feels the connections tethering him to the world. He feels Toppo's boisterous energy. He feels Dyspo's frantic speed. He is no longer Jiren the Gray, the solitary monolith. He is Jiren the Pride Trooper, a guardian, a brother, a friend. And somewhere, across the vast distance of the multiverse, in a universe called 7, a Saiyan sneezes and looks up at the sky, sensing a shift in the wind. But that is a story for another time. For now, we leave Jiren there. Sitting at a crowded table surrounded by his people, the warm light of the room pushing back the darkness of the night. His journey is far from over. He has new limits to break, new lessons to learn. But the hardest battle is won. He has defeated his own loneliness. As you drift off to sleep tonight, let Jiren's peace become your own. You do not need to carry the weight of the world on your shoulders alone. You do not need to be a wall. You do not need to be absolute. It is okay to rest. It is okay to rely on others. It is okay to be held. Let the image of the purple sky fade. Let the sound of the wind chimes lull you into a deep, dreamless slumber. You are safe. You are connected. You are strong. Good night, warriors. Good night.